It's fine. We're going live.
I gotta find the comments. Hello, welcome in. Mountain Grandma, Milk and Honey, Garden State so-and-so. Thank you guys. Robin. Hello, Jen. How are you? Welcome in. I'm just going to let a couple more people get in here first. And you can see I have a guest tonight. Jan said, hey there, Michael.
Hello.
So I have Tammy and Heather and Robin and Jan. And yeah. So I'm just going to let a couple more people get in. Hopefully they will. And I want to welcome you to the channel. You can see my son is joining us tonight. One of my sons, Michael. Hi, Fallon. How are you? And his wife, Christy, will be here for part of it as well.
Hi, Fallon.
Hi, people.
And people.
So let me tell you, we had a ton of rain all day, all night, thunderstorms, lightning, kept us awake, and tons of rain. And I walked through at least a foot of ooey gooey chicken poop going out to feed my chickens and ducks. And it wasn't very fun. And I'm glad the rain's done. I think everything floated from the top of our property all the way to the chicken coop. And so it was a muddy, mucky, icky mess. And just glad the rain is gone today. It's much cooler today. It was 60 yesterday, and today it was in the 40s, I think, wasn't it, Michael?
46, I think, was our high today. It was actually our total temperature.
Yeah, but it was really, it felt a lot cooler because the wind was blowing. So yeah. We're just grateful that the rain is gone. The chickens are probably grateful. They were trying to swim in mud, and it's not a pleasant smell when you come in with chicken stuff all over you. So, of course, I had to get cleaned up, as you can tell, because I did not want this to sit here with smelling like chicken poop. Yeah, it was a little chilly today.
I don't think the goats liked it either. They hung out in their house all day, and of course, you know that's not good. I'm pretty sure I've got a pregnant mama, so she didn't want to come into her house today. She just sat up there and bad at me.
Bad at you. For those of you who don't know, that's Christy, my daughter-in-law, my son Michael.
Hello.
If you hear screaming in the background, that's our son Mikey. He's playing video games.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is, muddy poo definitely smells worse. It really does. I wanted to do a weekly live and make people feel good. Not that lives don't make you feel good, but I wanted to reach back into those deep, deep feel-good moments back when you were a kid, back when you were growing up, and of course, growing up in another time. And that's why I called this weekly live Growing Up in Another Time, or with another time. And that's why I have Michael here to open up this live so that he can tell you what it was like growing up with another time and in another time. And I'm going to let Michael just tell. Yeah, you met Christy at the meetup. For those of you that were at the meetup, Christy was there, as was Mikey. Anyway, but I'm going to let him tell you what it was like to tell him. Just tell us a little bit about yourself first, Michael.
So I'm a brother of many. So I love people. That's what I do every day of my life. And if I'm not dealing with brothers or sisters, I'm dealing with children. That's my main job, is children. So I get a chance to work with children every day of my life. And sometimes it's a range from 15, sometimes it could be 60, depending on the circumstances. So
Of how many kids he has.
Jan said, spill the beans, Michael.
so I love children. I love kids. I love trying to make a difference. And like growing up, that was all we had, was each other. So, and our circle was way smaller than today's circle. So we didn't have social media or anything like that. It was, hey, can we do something or whatever? And it ultimately, it stemmed from my mom, and she has always provided me, my family, my brothers, anybody love, period. And so it makes it hard to relate to now times, because we actually had a conversation with our son just last night about how times are so different. And we didn't have cell phones or internet or anything. We had army men and shovels and ditches, and we had to go and just build our own internet. But like it was.
Some people did. They had dial-up, and we eventually got dial-up.
Yeah, but how old were we? That's what we were trying to tell Mike. By the time we got dial-up, we were what? Well, in high school?
No, we got dial-up in when you were little. We had dial-up one time when you were little.
Okay,
95.
Yeah.
And ultimately, though, like it doesn't matter if the times have changed. It matters if we've changed, though. Well, times have changed, but ultimately, for us.
Mikey, you gonna come say hi? Oh, Mikey's gonna come say hi.
Because we had this conversation with.
I did.
Grab one. Say hi, Mikey.
Hello.
Okay, so what we were telling Mikey yesterday was that, like, when we were kids, you had to go to the store with your parents to. Oh, there he goes. You had to go to the store with your parents to like pick out your Christmas gifts or your Hanukkah gifts, because you couldn't just pick up your phone and say like, hey mom, I see this awesome like pair of sneakers that I want. You didn't know that they existed because Google didn't really exist for you to do that, or Amazon didn't exist. You had to physically go into the store and see them on the shelf,
or order it on the catalog,
or you would wait for the
order out of the catalog.
Yeah, the Sears catalog.
Sears,
JCPenney, Rewards.
Yeah, and if they didn't put the catalog out, then you felt left out. So
so if you didn't go to the store with your parents, you didn't know what was like the new technology that was out there, because you didn't get to see it, because you didn't have a phone, you didn't have the internet at your disposal. You had to go into stores. Like I was telling Mikey, I said, I would not have known about a Walkman had I not been in the store with my mom and saw a Walkman.
Yeah.
And then that was on my Christmas list one year. I wanted a Walkman. And he doesn't know what that's like because he's like, well, I don't like going into stores. And I was like, I get that. I said, but when we were kids, that was the only way we knew what was out there.
Yeah, we waited every year too, Jan, for the Sears catalog. We were always excited. Get that Christmas catalog, the toy catalog. Yeah. So tell the viewers about your top 5 favorite memories of growing up in another time.
All right, I don't know if this one is specifically top 5, but it was definitely one that has top 5 memorability on my family. So I don't know if that, but one time, my mom, another time, called my brother and said the dishes needed to be done by the time we got home. And my oldest brother, who he's an awesome person.
Your
but,
camera
you know,
needs to adjust it. There you go.
He's an awesome person, but when he portrayed it to me, it was my job or no job. And I said, well, that's not fair because I heard Mom tell you. And he said, well, if you don't do it, I'm going to beat you up. and I know he wouldn't have, but so I went and hid, and I hid in an area that cost thousands of dollars. So I don't know if you want to elaborate a little more on that.
Go ahead, tell him about it.
So my mom had a waterbed, and in the waterbed they had drawers, and in the drawers there was a secret compartment like right in the center. And I crawled into that secret compartment, fell asleep, woke up with lights flashing everywhere. Like, it was so crazy. But
there was probably 20 police cars and 3
they
fire
wanted to turn the
trucks,
lake and everything, didn't
ambulances.
they?
Huh?
I said they wanted to comb the lake and everything, right?
Yeah, they were gonna dredge the lake.
Yeah. So
Because
it was.
they thought he had gone in the lake that was out behind our house and drowned, but he was asleep. And his brothers panicked and called the police because they couldn't find him anywhere, and called the police, and they were at the house for a good 3 hours because they could not find him. And I pull up to that nightmare after actually, I left work because they called me and said, the police are here, Mom. The fire trucks are here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, being that young, it wasn't like as big of a deal as everybody else let me seem it to be. But realistically, it was a big deal.
Jan said, don't scare your mother like that again. She's rolling on
No, I did it multiple times. I promise. That wasn't the
She
first
gives
time.
us stories of these boys. I don't know how she raised 4 boys. Like, I tell her all the time, I said, you have to have a bigger resiliency than I do, because I have 1 and he gives me a heart attack all the time. I couldn't imagine of having 4.
And they were all only a year and a half apart. And so they were more like friends than siblings. But
and we did everything together. It was crazy.
yeah.
But my mom also worked 3 jobs, went to school full time. She was trying the best she could do. And, if it wasn't for people like my dad who came into her life, that honestly, I would be much of a lesser person. So You know, just the way everything pans out, it's not what we think. It's how it has to happen, I guess.
Because
And
God makes it that way.
yes, and it's not me. But every single time God has come through, even when I didn't even believe or didn't agree or whatever, every single time God has come through, with my personal family, with my extended family. So, I mean,
You never have to worry, do you? Because he's always faithful. He's always
yeah.
there. He's always there. So what's the next event that memory, one of your besties? Oh,
I used to skip school when I was in first grade.
Oh,
Oh my goodness. And hold on.
why?
What first grader skips school, right? So we had this tunnel that literally went to our irrigation system that we could get onto our little private road and I can run home. So that's what I would do. And especially if there was a substitute teacher, because I was gone. I was gone. And police got called on me then too.
Yeah, the police got called on you then.
I got in trouble.
You don't think like I remember like riding around.
No,
with my
they're all
brothers on
good
their bikes.
memories.
They're good memories. Jan said, "What? How cool is that?"
Yeah. Like, if you can think of the sitcom that a troubled child was dealing with, and it wasn't even that I was troubled, it was that I dealt with 3 other brothers and my mother who worked full time, and I wanted attention. I wanted all of it. I was the baby boy. I should have had every bit of it, and I didn't get it all. And so I wanted to make me get all the attention. So
Everything makes sense now.
Yeah, everything makes sense now.
What
So
about the fact that like when you guys were really little, you like he tells me stories all the time about living next to a pig farmer?
no, we lived on a farm in Idaho.
Okay.
we went to a farm in Idaho. We had pigs.
That was an
Yeah,
awesome
you did steer.
experience.
What?
I said we had pigs and steer.
Yes.
And I hear stories of like the boys would like go
And
down
I had a
ride.
brother that shot us with BB guns all the time.
Okay. But I would hear stories of like they would ride the pigs and like didn't somebody do a pig project? Like a
Yeah, me and
4-H pig.
actually me and Kevin had a pig, and then my other 2 brothers
Jason,
had a
Brad.
mhm. So it was a different time, a different experience, and now me working with kids and dealing with my own kids, it's changed, but not the love factor or not the appreciation factor of it or anything. So, but I wouldn't have that if it wasn't for what I went through. You know what I mean?
I feel like we lived in a simpler time.
But it wasn't always simple.
I don't mean it like that. I just mean like
We dug trenches and
not what I mean.
canals.
That's not what I mean by that. That's
made
not what I mean by that.
forts on a pond. And
I think this because we do have kids, ranging from, Sydney and them down to Mikey. That I was swiping it out of the way. Anyway, that like I think social media makes things harder on these kids emotionally versus what we had to do. We could go to a field and the next thing the field, we would envision that field being a fortress and you had to go through the maze to get to save the princess who was trapped in a vat of sinking sand or whatever you imagine that field to be. And I don't know if I think that the kids have got that same. They can't look at a big open field. They stand in a big open field and go, "What do you guys want us to do with this?"
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Jan says I agree 100%. She was saying her youngest brother got pulled over every week for riding his homemade mini bike on the road. They would just follow him home and call the mom. Do you want us to tell about what happened when you stole the popsicle or ice cream or whatever it was from that little store when you were 6 years old?
They were Squeeze-Its. It was when Squeeze-Its first came out. So
I love Squeeze-Its.
it was when Squeeze-Its or Kool-Aid Jammers.
They were Squeeze-Its.
I know.
They were awesome.
But that was when they first came out. My brothers told me to go in there and just get us 4 of them. Just grab a 4-pack so we're not thirsty. And we were really walking to my mom's work to get a hoagie, because at the time she worked at a hoagie station. So we wanted food, but we didn't want to walk 3 more miles without having a drink.
It was 3 miles.
No, the total thing was like 8 miles.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it wasn't.
How old was he? How old was he?
He was 6.
Okay, so your 6-year-old brain thought it was 8 miles.
Yeah,
It was
okay.
probably 2.
No, it literally was probably 8.
No, it was. We lived in Idaho, in the middle of nowhere, and there was no other place to go. Yeah, it was. You go to 7-Eleven, Hoagie's Corner, or
So
you
how
don't
far
get
did you live
nothing.
from it, though?
How far did we live from it?
How far did you live from?
5 miles.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, it would have been more than 8 miles, probably.
Yeah, no, and it wasn't like just a one-time thing. It was something that we did all the time.
okay. So you stole drinks
yeah.
from a convenience
We
store?
stole drinks. We stole lawnmowers to get to places.
I never
We-
knew about this until you got to be an adult, and except for at that store. I wanted you to tell about how I made you what you ended up having to do.
I had to sweep a parking lot. To me, at the time, felt like the size of a super Walmart parking lot. So I literally had to sweep the whole parking lot by myself with a police officer watching me, because if he didn't, he was going to tell my mom that I wasn't doing the job. I didn't care about the cop. I cared about my mom
Hold on a second.
telling
Because
me
he
I
stole
couldn't
the
do it.
drinks. Because he stole the drinks.
Yes.
Yeah, he
What about the other one?
actually brought him alone by himself home in handcuffs all the way to the house. And his little wrists were just tiny because he was super, super short.
And the
He was
handcuffs.
a head shorter than everybody else his age. And so he was just this tiny little petite kid and in these great big handcuffs that he could have just pulled his hands right out of. And the police brought him up to the door. It was so hilarious. I was trying not to die laughing. But you know,
He had to
Hold
put.
on. My question is, where was the other 3 at?
They couldn't come.
No.
The police officer wouldn't let them come.
I just want to know where the other 3 were at altogether, because they put him up to a lot. I wish that Jason or Brad was on here right now, because it seems to me
They were-
put him up to a lot.
They were.
yeah, they did put Michael up to a lot. I could tell you some terrifying stories, but they put him up to a lot. They tried everything out on Michael. And that's the problem with having that many boys that close together, is because they will put your youngest little one up to everything.
I don't mean to keep looking away. I have 4 dogs though, and then we're also watching somebody else's dog at the moment. So we have 5 dogs here. So we're trying to do the best that we can. So I apologize for anybody. But
How are you, Gail? Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Hi, Mikey. Yeah, it's always, you can look back at those memories and they affected your life. They really did. They had an impact on your life. And and you carry that with you throughout your entire life, those events, because that made you who you are today.
And they matter more to me today than they did then. You know what I mean? Like, even though I was in a situation, regardless of whether I upset you or, police officers or firefighters or whatever, they allowed this moment for me to be better now. And they helped me, kind of control my path and helped me not think of everything as bad as it really is unless it's really bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you could take the events of your childhood and what it was like to be raised with another time, in
Mhm.
another time, and you could take those events of your childhood, and describe yourself in one paragraph. You kind of told it to me earlier when we were talking on the phone. What would that be?
Well, first, the time period, I think I've kind of already expressed, but with the relationship with you is different. You have always shown your kids love and affection and hard times too, but you've always done it in a progressive manner to help us grow. And you probably don't hear this or get this enough, but you have made us or helped make us who we are today, with the help of Yahweh and with the help of, anybody else in the life. But Yahweh was the foundation and you were the boundaries. You kept us from going beyond where it wasn't acceptable. And so I give you credit for that. So I didn't really get that out, but realistically, times today aren't much different. They're different with technology. They're not different with relationship value and core values. Number one, God always has to come first. Always has to come first.
Amen.
And the moment he's not, we're not even there, And
you had some struggles that way.
I've had a lot, yeah. But regardless, even after that, though, then it's our job to also try to do the best for the people around us so that we can provide that same thing for them. Even if it's, a 3% difference, it's a difference and it matters. And one thing I've realized growing up with you being my mom and growing up in a completely another time is that we are so limited to what our knowledge level is. Like I fall back on things I know, but I don't embrace the things I don't know, even if it could be better. And it's hard for me to establish that difference, but I want to try. I want to try. I want to keep going forward, And
Jan said, Michael, I have a saying that I've told my children: you're not defined by your destiny. you define your own destiny. And then she said, Mama stretched your spiritual muscles.
Yes, she did. And emotional muscles, and like she stretched every level, my responsibilities, my emotional, and Mom, you did a great job. So I don't want you to have any discredit at all, period.
I appreciate you, son. I love you. They want to know, well, I can tell you that Michael has a brother, Jason, a brother, Brad, a stepbrother, Trenton, a brother, he had a brother, a stepbrother, Travis, that's passed away. He had another brother, Kevin, and he passed away a couple of years ago. And he had, he's got a stepsister, Bianca, another stepsister, Erica, and he had a sister, and that was Melissa, and she died shortly after she was born. And
my brother Matt.
And he's got a brother, Matt. And did I say Trenton? Yeah, I said Trenton, didn't I?
Did you say Lutheran though?
Luther.
Huh? Luther. I forgot Luther. And so, yeah, he's got several siblings and has had many more. 3 of them have passed. So, yeah, big family.
I'll tell you the 3 greatest things about my upbringing were: 1, I was shown love; 2, I was shown God, and without God, there's no love; and 3, I was shown remorse. And so overall, like, I struggle no different than anybody else.
That's what you told me earlier.
What?
You forgot the other thing that you forgot to tell me earlier, or that you told me earlier.
Yeah, God's pew-pews and God, pew-pews, and family are always the most important, because you can't protect your family without the means to do it. You can't do anything without God, anything. And God gives you the family to be able to do it all. And, realistically, like, I'm blessed. I don't care about my issues or my problems or my life. I care about future growth, period. And whether it's with myself, with my relationship with my wife or my kids or my mom, God has to come first. I'm telling you right now,
Always
has to come first. And my wife can attest to that.
But back to us talking about being at a different time. That was also something that was very different in the family wise back when we were kids.
Yeah, it was more natural and normal
to go to church.
To have that natural relationship or bond.
I didn't grow up in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
But there were, throughout my life, there was neighbors that came along that, I remember I had a neighbor, she was the pianist. That was right. Pianist.
We're not going to say the real word on
she
YouTube.
She played the piano for the church.
Okay.
She was the pianist.
I said pianist. I may have been. That's what I
pianist. Okay, Michael.
Stop. I meant the person who played the piano for the church.
We didn't.
I know. Anyways, she was a widowed lady who she never had any kids.
Yeah.
And so the kids in the neighborhood became, she was always like, well, I can take your kids to church with me. I can take your kids with church with me. And there was like 4 or 5 of us on Sunday would get up in the morning and go to church with her because our parents didn't go to church, but they didn't have a problem with us going to church. They just didn't want to get up and go.
Yeah.
And today, if my neighbor said, well, I play the piano at such and such church and your kid can come with me, I'd say, I don't think so, honey. Like my kid's not getting in the car with you. I can go with my kid, but you're not taking my kid. And if I didn't want to go, then my kid wouldn't go. Like, and I think that's a big difference is that like, it was just a social norm that we put our kids in the car with somebody else and they took them to church with them and there was a lot more church back then. There's not as much church now. Everything revolves around the phones.
No, just the emotional and relationship value that I've gained over the years. I'm blessed. Like, I'm really blessed, honestly. Like, I know so many times things could have gone a way different direction. And because of my love and faith to Yahweh, to God, it has gone a way different direction. And I wouldn't have that without another time or my mom. So I wouldn't.
I think he's trying to tell you that you're old.
No.
And I'm
saying it's the basic foundation.
When we told Mikey about the whole Sears thing, he told me and Michael. He called us.
Mikey, my son, called us ancient because we had to look up in a catalog to see what we wanted.
And he said it's not his fault that we are ancient.
Yeah, and then he tried justifying it by saying, "Really? Well, you live in today's time too." So it is what it is.
Well, Mikey is an awesome example, though, of how you can raise up a godly child in today's world. Because put Mikey on for a minute.
Come here, buddy.
Before he comes on, my son is 10 times more than me. And that alone shows the power of God. So when he comes up with answers, they're not just intelligent answers, they're intelligent, emotional, and spiritual answers. So he can combine all of them together. And it's not all. What?
Well, Gail was asking if he's homeschooled. I said he used to be, but he's not now.
Yeah, but it's harder for me to try to understand his times and what he has to deal with and bullying and all this stuff without producing, the same fruit.
We weren't very good schoolers. We struggled with it really hard. So ultimately, I don't know if I know. I think it came down to, he has to be at work at 12 and I work from home since the pandemic, but before then I didn't. So our kids they've been in public schools just because we're just not very good homeschoolers. I'm not going to lie. We just couldn't figure it out. To all those who have figured it out, I give you all the credit in the world because it is very hard and it takes a lot of dedication and really understanding the material and the curriculum to teach your kids. And I'll be honest, I don't think I was smart enough to homeschool my kids.
Oh, Chrissy, you're funny. Put Mikey so we can see him. Mikey, why don't you tell everybody what you asked us to get you?
Can you tell we're siblings? Father, son.
What did you have Grandpa and I buy you the other day?
A Bible.
A Bible? Mm-hmm. Yep. And how difficult is it to be a believer at school?
Pretty difficult. Oh no.
What do the kids? What do you deal with there? Tell them what you deal with there.
Oh, my bad. Was I not supposed to do that?
No,
Mikey.
would you answer, Grandma?
Oh, what do you mean?
Like, what do you deal with when they want to know why you don't celebrate Christmas and different things?
I just say like it's the festival of lights. Why wouldn't we? Like it's just like in the Bible it talks about the festival of lights and how the oil that was only supposed to last, I think, one day, lasted 8 nights.
And who else celebrated the Festival of Lights?
Yeshua.
Yeah, he did. He did. So, yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Love you.
Now you're showing my pots.
So he's going to school and telling the kids this when they, you know.
I
Yes, Gail. Yes, he does. So all of you, keep him lifted up in prayer, because God, Yahweh, he's got something big for Mikey. I just know it.
I can honestly say that without the blessing of God, I wouldn't have that son. And because I had that son, that was the first time I regretted it. So, no, I'm just playing. No, I love him to pieces. He is my mini-me. He is my partner. I get upset when I say, hey, you want to play a video game? And he tells me no. So, it's a lot different. It's a lot different times growing up. It's a lot different way to even know how to even manage your relationship with God. And if you even want a relationship with God, it's so much different. Like before, you could go to church or not. And if you didn't, and you didn't hear a preacher on the side street, then when are you going to hear it? Other than a parent or something. Fortunately, I had a parent that guided me to that. So I got blessed with that. And I wish and I hope to continue to bless my own kids with the same level that my mom has done for me. And I know ultimately it's all God's work, but he puts people in a place for a reason. And the reason isn't ours. It's his. And that's what makes it hard for me personally to understand where the difference is or what level of commitment I need to go to one way or the other. And realistically, I need to commit fully to God and everything else will fall in place. And I don't always do it. But I know that's the answer, and I've seen that being the answer. But we're human and we're fallible and we make mistakes. And, I am not always there, but I want to be there. I want my family to be there. I want my kids to be there.
Because we live for heaven and we don't live for this earth.
Yeah. And it's hard when you're living on earth, though. It's hard to, figure out, well, if I go to heaven or if I can go to heaven or when I'm in heaven, what then? And it's really hard to tell if you've never been, but you've lived on earth. And I know it makes it difficult, but I know my family's a blessing. I know I am blessed completely. I know I'm honored. I am much lesser than them in my spiritual beliefs. Even when I try, I am. But that's why we keep going, because it's a continuation of coming together. We're supposed to be the light of the world, and we're supposed to show camaraderie and love and support, and but we're supposed to do it in the name of God.
Yeah, we always have to lift each other up and be a blessing to everyone that we meet. Like there's Christy's hand.
Here's my hand. Anyway, so me and him have been having this conversation about, like, when we were younger, and going to church, the only thing that you really had was your Bible and whatever the preacher told you, or the minister or father or whatever, your rabbi, whatever church or denomination you had. But the one thing that, I guess it can be considered both ways that the kids do have now is that, I remember growing up and hearing like Buddhist was wrong. Like everything about Buddhist was wrong. Well, I'm getting that point. I'm not.
That's all.
I'm not. I'm saying that growing up, being like going to like a Southern Baptist church, you would hear like, this is wrong or that's wrong or whatever. And the only thing that you had to go off of was what the preacher said to you and what you read in a Bible.
Yeah.
That is one thing I will say that they do have today that we didn't have then, is they can almost like fact check it. You know what I mean? Like they can go back and say, like, oh.
But they won't fact check it
But some people do use it to fact check.
No.
And so it can be a good thing.
It's not presented to them. We are supposed to be the light of the world. We're supposed to present it to them. We're supposed to tell them our testimony and our experiences, and we have to help start a relationship, because lots of times they won't start that relationship. I'll give you a perfect example. My daughter has been going through very struggle times and always was very distant to God and the Bible, and it's almost like she felt forced into it because of my relationship. But without me, she still is now praying and reading the Bible every day, more than she ever has. And so it's not our place to make the change. It's our place to present it. Yeah. And however it happens, once somebody accepts or denies, that's on them. But it's our place. It's my place. It's my place to tell my kids that God is real.
Exactly. Thank you for telling us that. Hey, tell me what were 5 activities that you like to do in another time growing up?
So the very first one that comes to mind is me and my brothers literally making our own shovels out of sticks and building our own dirt forts into the earth. Like we literally carved out the earth to build out our own dirt forces with wood sticks, just so we could have like dirt ball fights or something like that.
What about you, Christy?
What?
I'll let Christy tell one of her favorite things.
Riding my bike. So
Right.
I grew up yeah, I grew up in Germany until I was 10. And so we used to have this little square that all the kids would, it was like the bike riding square. I don't know what you would call it. It was like in the back of, come on, help me out. You guys lived in Germany and like did you guys
The
not?
square.
Like the plots,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
On the
Where the
outskirts of the plot.
yeah, on the outskirts, like right where the playgrounds were at, there was the square where everybody like rode their bike.
Mhm.
And I know that sounds really weird, but it was one of my like most fondest memory of being a kid was learning how to ride my bike and then riding it in the square with like the older kids.
yeah.
Another time, and I will shout out his name. I've been trying not to shout out names, but my Uncle Jaron took us to, I don't know if anybody's been to Washington State, but they have some of the world's largest ant hills. And he took us there with a whole bunch of smoke grenades or smoke bombs to throw them in there.
Illegal.
It's illegal now. I know it wasn't then, but it was the watching of the ants and the whole principle of it, you
And
know.
what they do to us now.
Oh, I know. I'll be arrested. You're killing millions of ants.
What are some of the things you did with me that you remember, that you enjoyed, that I do with you
As a kid.
Me?
as a kid?
I was special. So I'm kind of different from the other brothers.
You were the baby.
I was the baby, so kind of whatever I wanted, I could do. And my brothers really pushed that limit to see if she was going to get mad at me. So that's a good one. I will tell you one of my greatest moments ever was I had a toothache so bad. We moved to Augusta, Georgia. I had a toothache.
Military.
I had a toothache so bad, and my brother had a ingrown hair on his leg that hurt him so bad, and he didn't want my toothache to supersede his ingrown hair. But you did the most loving and caring thing for both of us. You didn't pick a side or nothing like that. You know, you told Kevin, hey, I will take care of you. I promise you, I will take care of you. I have to find Bandit because I didn't have Bandit. I don't know if you remember Bandit.
Yeah.
So for anybody who doesn't know Bandit, Bandit was my lifelong stuffed animal that I got when I was like 2 years old. And my mom had to find it to ease me to take care of my brother because she knew that was going to be a faster fix than it was for me. And then she wasn't even sure if I needed to go to the emergency room or anything. She checked everything out, but it wasn't like nothing severe, but she didn't know how severe it was to me. And just the comfort alone that you gave Kevin helped comfort me. And then you came and comforted me. And
Isn't it funny you remember that?
that was a big moment.
Wow. Wow.
You don't remember it?
He does
Yeah,
always tell me that, like, so one of the big things that like we talk about all the time, especially like with our kids and everything, is that like the number one thing that he had growing up, when we compare like childhoods, he always says like you were really good about making sure that no matter what was going on, that there was a lot of love. You know, you guys didn't always have the newest pair of Nike shoes or the starter
Oh, I
jacket.
made 'em. I made them.
Yeah.
I
She
made 'em
made all
jeans.
these for school. And guess what? She didn't just make ours, because when people saw them, they wanted them too. So she started making
I
other
made 'em.
people.
I made
Yeah,
everything. I
she
was
did
gonna let you go
awesome.
without. I was just gonna make it. You want those? Okay, I'll make them.
Oh.
Like, it's funny that when we talk, like when me and him talk about like our childhood, because even though we're only 3 years apart, we have different childhoods. I was like, he was the baby, but my family was, I guess, more well off than yours.
Mhm.
But we didn't have like, what's the word I'm looking for? You guys had a lot of love and a lot of like time with each other, and we had a lot of like materialistic things that I guess, like we did have the newer shoes, or I had a black and white TV.
Charlotte Hornets jacket.
I did have a Charlotte Hornets jacket. Shush. But like I feel like my childhood was a little bit more deprived than his, even though I had more things.
She had way more stuff than me.
Because
I had the stuff
like,
that mattered the most.
Like when my appendix, when my appendix was going out when I was a kid, like I was so worried to wake up my parents because I was afraid of what they would do, like how angry they would be at me for disturbing their sleep. So instead I've dealt with the pain. Whereas like Michael and the boys, they always talk about like, no matter how bad it was, no matter what was going on, if we jumped off of a roof and broke our foot, or, that's a whole nother
story, right?
Or, we were shooting each other with BB guns, or, whatever the case may be.
Nail guns in the construction site.
Yeah.
Yes.
Running around with that can of hairspray and a lighter.
Caught the other person on fire. We could always call mom. We could always call mom, and mom would always be there, and mom would always nurture us. She would always take care of everything, no matter how big or small it was, because
When
love.
they got in trouble, I made them face their consequences, and they had a strict schedule, bed schedule too. So they had a lot of rules, but I always nurtured them
Because you always loved them, and I think
you
that's
also
the difference.
always created that great balance, that it wasn't one over the other or nothing like that. It was, this is the best for my children, not my child or my baby or my adult or whatever. You did the best overall, just really making sure that we were all loved equally. And I know you weren't even trying to do it. And as an adult, that means so much more.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on here tonight. And what I want to say is thank you, Michael. Thank you, Christy. And thank you, Mikey. And how this weekly live is going to proceed is I'll occasionally have a family member on, but I'm also going to be asking some of you out there to be my guest to talk about your childhood and when you lived in another time and what that was like and about, and just share some of those memories with me and with those that are joining us in the live, in the chat. And I think it's just a nice thing to do so we can reflect on how we got to be to where we are now, because we are truly now living in another time. And most of you know what time that is. I'm not going to say it, but most of you know we are living in another time. And I am truly grateful to God for the family he gave me. I'm grateful to God for the insight that he gave me as a parent, as a mother, as a wife, as his child. And, I'm grateful that for everything that he's blessed me with and the friends that I have here on YouTube, all my children and grandchildren. And I'm just really, truly grateful because I know all things come from him. And I know that without him, we are literally nothing. We are nothing. And he has put us here on this earth to be a blessing to others, because by being a blessing to others, we are honoring him. It is our worship to him by blessing others. And I love God. I don't do everything that I should do all the time. I get caught up in the busyness around like many of us do. And, I just pray that on that day, I'll be found worthy and he'll say, good and faithful servant. Now, I don't know, but I'm hoping for it. And that's all I can do. And that's my faith. And I, just pray for all the young people out there that don't have that connection with God, that they might someday get it as well. And all of those that, have not had that experience with God. And I've had some very, very personal experiences with God. And someday I may share those with you. But I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on. And I hope and pray that you just give God all the glory for everything, and trust in, put everything in his hands, because you're just going to see all kinds of glorious things happen if you do. I am going to end this here, and I'm hoping that if one of you ladies would like to join me next week, please just send me a text. If not, I'm going to have to call you out on a text, okay? And thank you, Jan. I'm Gail. And Heather and Tammy and all of those that came in. Fallon, I just love you. I love you all. I can't wait to see you, Fallon. And Michael, I once again, I thank you and I love you guys. Do you have anything else to say?
I want to say I wouldn't know God without you. And there was a moment in my life where I was really like pushing against it, and other people tried pushing, and other people tried pushing. And you came to me and just said, hey, ask him. And I asked God, and he changed my life. So, not trying to get emotional, but without God, I'm nothing. And I know you have been a blessing to me, to my family. You're the greatest mom I could have ever asked for. So,
well, I love my children, and I love Christy. You're my daughter. I love you, and I love you, son. I love my children, and I know you guys had to find your own way. And I can't say enough. I'm so grateful for you, and I just pray the very best of blessings for you, and for all of you that are watching. And I'm going to end it here. Oh, don't forget, join us. We're going to do a live. Not only will this be every Wednesday night at 8 p.m., but we're going to be doing a live on Christmas Day. To those of you that celebrate Christmas, it'll be at 6 p.m. But it's our first day of Hanukkah. And so we're going to show you how believers in Christ, in Yeshua, celebrate Hanukkah and why we celebrate it. And maybe someday you'll want to incorporate it into your celebrations as well, because Yeshua did tell us to be like him, become more like him, walk like him. And he celebrated the Festival of Lights. So it's really, we do it to honor him. And so we're kind of excited to have you all there and you're holding up the golden coins. You know what? Heather or somebody was making.
I was going to say, if you haven't seen my another time's last video with my son's favorite holiday is Hanukkah, and he loves the dreidel game. So,
you know, all the chocolate coins. That was so cute. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you for coming. I love you, and you have a blessed day.